Little motherfucker gonna try to rob me. Well, I'm gonna show you how we do it up here in Benton. Look, I wasn't trying to rob you. Shut up! Before I bust a cap up in you. Now who sent you?
So what's up? We standing tall in your short stuff.
Yes.
All nuts of the bullshit that you dressed up. Address us on scholarship, homie, knowing you're messed up. So fessed up, you look for the best, knowing that that's us. So what's up? We standing tall in your short stuff.
Yes.
All nuts of the bullshit that you dressed up. Address us on scholarship, homie, knowing you're messed up. So fessed up, you look for the best, knowing that that's us. Sword clown, know that it's over like it's the fourth down. We the source now. Hear a big bang with tanks on ground. More than the scrimmage, yeah, we forcing the sin, yeah, we pushing no limit. Leave the fight with no blemish. You the hometown, but you're not receiving no privilege. We gon' do you bad, rape, rob, and pillage. But we nothing like the white man. I can see that you a big fan. Every time we go live, I see you in the damn stands. Watching and plotting, I see that you stalking a bit.
Yes.
Laughing at people, they seeing you taking
Here's
a
the
bit.
definition of plagiarism. The practice of taking someone else's work and reusing it without
Crazy ass nigga, we the source. Yeah, we cite source. Spitting hot flames more hotter than hot sauce. Drummy ass nigga,
in verse 26. And he said, Blessed be the Lord God of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. So you see, this is why y'all went into slavery, because y'all were Canaanites.
Who are you saying a Canaanite? Are you serious, brother?
According to prophecy.
Are you serious,
y'all
man?
Y'all fit the curse.
So
of
we
Canaan.
supposed to be the Canaanites now?
Yes.
Are you, man? You must be out of your mind,
Listen, this whole thing can be solved very easily, man. Give me Isaiah chapter 11, verse 13.
Yeah. Check it. The envy also of Ephraim shall depart,
Right.
and the adversaries of Judah shall be cut off. Ephraim shall not envy Judah.
Right.
And Judah shall not vex Ephraim.
So the whole thing is, if y'all don't have nobody on the opposite side of this argument, this clearly means that you two are the nation of
Thank you.
All right.
My God.
Praise the Lord.
Hold on, bro. Hold on.
La la music.
Yes.
YirmeYah. For real.
Hold up.
When we are together, what a sight for sore eyes.
Yeah.
There'll be nothing better
Hold
when
up.
we're unified. When we are together, what a glorious time.
Hold up.
We will reign forever with your
Commandments of the
side. When we're
Commandments of the
together. Yeah.
These the wishes of the king. Hold up.
You know,
These commandments of the king.
Yeah.
These are the wishes of the king.
Judah and Israel been separated for a long time, you see. Only y'all can bring us back where we need to be. These two sticks will be joined together once again. He's the only one that can remove this division.
We've been receiving correction, but we ain't changed our direction. And the road that we on, we gon' sabotage the election. We've been sick with infection, wanna show my people affection. Whether you Israel or Judah, grab the faith and get full up. Scattered to the four corners, but we working to pull up. No more envy in Judah, no more infection out Ephraim. Even if you're light skinned, it's the blood that we keeping. We reject Willie Lynch, apologize for offense. We the sourced up clique, let me prove my descent. Yeah, these curses is on me, not the only one lonely. Isolated from the phonies, I'm in love with the law. But it's the blood of the Mashiach that'll be taking me home. So we killing confusion and separation illusion. It's our action we prove when we stay apart, then we lose it. Go ahead and respond if you vote for division. But it's all about the blood, we reject your religion. Let me show some submission. This is Christ's ambition.
But the Most High, oh, this we know. It's been a long time, but the chosen is coming home.
Yeah, we coming home.
Your king will rule the nations in the Holy Land. Judah and Israel will be back together again.
So we no longer faking, we squashing beef with Jamaicans. If we ever gon' make it, we have to join with the Haitians. Making peace with the Cubans, we know they brother is Ruben. Know the haters is looking, but they just causing confusion. Talking about those, talking about those that are descended from black. Now we're ranging in color, yeah, we in Africa too. When it say the four corners, we including you too. What about Europe and India? We be together soon.
All together. What a sight for sore eyes. There'll be nothing better when we're unified. When we are together, what a glorious time. We will reign forever with Yahweh. When we are together, yeah. You know we belong together. Yeah.
All right. All right, what's going on here? Can y'all hear me? Yo. Can y'all hear me? All right, family. Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings, man. First and foremost, man, I want to give all praise and honor to Abanawi Yahweh, Shema Mashiach Yahweh Shah, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, for another opportunity, man, to be in front of the family as we attempt to tackle this topic, right? For those that don't know, it was YirmeYah. Please say the Yah. I am the CEO of the Source Debate League, founder of the House of Redeemed Servant. We've been in operation since 2011, located out of Oklahoma City, right? And I've been around for a little bit of time now. And, you know, I seen Zion Lexx do a video claiming to destroy the 12 tribe chart, right? So for me, you know, I was interested in to see what he was going to bring out, right? I wasn't outright dismissive of the information. I was actually looking forward to seeing what the brother had to say concerning the topic. Now, I've been teaching the 12 tribe chart for a while, and I didn't start teaching the 12 tribe chart because somebody told me to teach it, right? It had to be explained, it had to be taught unto me, and it had to have the substance that I would need to be able to defend it if it ever came across my desk. Now, one of the most important things that you brothers and sisters need to know and understand is that first and foremost, the 12 tribe chart is incomplete. All right. It is a chart dealing primarily with the Western Hemisphere. Now, if you want to use that as an argument to say we're going to throw the baby out with the bathwater because the chart is only dealing with the Western Hemisphere, then that's your choice. But we have expanded and have worked continually to expand the chart. And, I myself, the House of Redeemed Servant, we are not responsible for what charts each individual camp decides that they want to utilize and bring out. One of the arguments is that the chart was created by YirmeYah in One West. The chart that they have and that they utilize was created by YirmeYah in One West. But the thing is, the information in the chart was around hundreds and hundreds of years before YirmeYah was even born. That's one thing that you all need to understand. Now, another thing is that I got a lot of respect for Zion Lexx. I don't know the brother personally, but I've watched his work over the years, and the brother's been a pillar in the Old Testament community, so I believe since the 90s. The issue is that the brother came to the realization that Hamashiach Yahushua, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, is the prophesied Messiah. Simply because he came to that realization does not sponge away the 20 or 30 years that he has been, I don't know if indoctrinated is the word that I want to utilize, but he has been taught. His foundational teachings come from factions of the commandment keepers. Now, if you know anything about the history, shout out to ISUBK, General Mahyman gave a historical breakdown on what happened with the split from the commandment keepers. I thought it was an excellent video, and it gave me insight on what happened back then. I wasn't around, right? So once the split happened with the commandment keepers, the branch of the commandment keepers, which Zion Lexx has publicly said that he comes from, started a rift between the two factions. So within the communities of each group, they would say negative things about each other. So this is what he was born into figuratively concerning his time in the truth, being bombarded with negative comments concerning whatever One West got going on. If One West decides they want to put on garments and fringes and borders of blue and go out street teaching, well, the commandment keepers would condemn that, right? And vice versa. If the commandment keepers got something going on, One West would condemn that. Again, I don't come from either one of these groups, right? I didn't come around until about 2006. And I was studying for 5 years before I decided that I wanted to start street teaching in about 2010, right? I decided that and developed my camp, which got underway around 2011. And 2013, I met Elder Maharakar, and the summit got underway in 2014, and I was able to meet the brothers from One West, House of David. I was able to meet Elder Zabak, a multitude of all of the brothers, right? AOC, FOPE, a multitude of brothers, right? I was able to meet in the flesh the brothers, the Ohio Israelites, my brothers, Karatazayah, Elder Arzah, Elder Nathaniel, may he rest in and greatness. So this was around 2014. So the reason I'm even bringing this up is because that's something that's instilled in Zion Lexx. So a lot of the culture that he comes from, in opposition to the culture that One West have promoted, is still in him. So he has that issue based upon his upbringing in this truth. It's very important that you understand this, because we're like, well, why? What is the issue when it comes to these doctrinal differences? Well, his elders and the elders of One West, they had schisms going all the way back to the 60s. Okay, that's what it is, and we just come along later on. Here it is, 2026, and a lot of you are just now coming into this truth. So when you're dealing with the 12 tribe chart itself, right, is dealing with the Western Hemisphere, North, Central, and South America. All right, this does not mean that there's no Israelites in Africa. Well, brother, it ain't no Africa. Africa's ain't on the chart, brother. You know, China ain't on the chart, brother. Europe's not on the chart, brother. The chart is trash, bro. Well, you have to understand again that this is dealing with the Western Hemisphere, in which people in the Western Hemisphere, in the Americas, would encounter these people before they would encounter somebody from Greece, Africa, or these other places, right? So that's important when it comes to the awakening and the awakening process. All that's important, man, right? So we are dealing with the 12 tribe chart, and how do we distinguish or identify certain tribes from other tribes? How do I identify Levi from Benjamin? How do I identify Simeon from Reuben? How do I identify Reuben from Gad? How do I identify Gad from Issachar? Right? Where? In the Western Hemisphere. So don't try to use that as a prelude to throw the baby out with the bathwater, because it's not mentioning Africa. All right. Again, right now we have elders. Shout out to Elder Mathathawa, who's in Ghana right now, teaching Israelites right now. All right. I was on the phone earlier today with two brothers, one from the Philippines and another brother from India this morning, right? Talking about the information and the historical information that they have that they want to add to the chart as well. All right. Because we have Israelites scattered to the four corners of the earth. All right. So in the Western Hemisphere, how do we distinguish? When you deal with books like Hebrewism in Western Africa, right? See if y'all can see that. Hebrewism in Western Africa. When you deal with these type of books, these books are dealing with anthropology, right? And so you would go into a particular community, right, or a tribal region, and you would observe their cultural practices, and you would see if those cultural practices line up with any other cultural practice of antiquity. This is how you're able to do it. Now, when you're talking about those that are descendants of the transatlantic slave trade who have been raped, robbed, and murdered, and their culture they have been separated from their culture, how do you identify these people? Well, you would identify these people based upon biblical prophecy concerning the condition that they would find themselves and the cultural expression that they themselves express, which would lead to us going into the Bible and see if there are any tribal representation concerning their character. So we will look at the character of the tribes and how does that align biblically. This is how you do it, okay? So if you're doing a critical analysis of the 12 tribe chart, what you want to do instead of mocking, I'm trying to be diplomatic here tonight. Pray for me, okay? When you're doing a critical analysis of the 12 tribe chart, instead of demonizing and mocking and disrespecting and claiming fifth graders could have done a better job, instead of doing that, how about we evaluate why is it that brothers are teaching the 12 tribe chart concerning the characteristics of each individual tribe? Is it possible for us to identify tribes based upon their biblical characteristics? Okay. So again, tonight we're doing a review, a peer review of Zion Lexx 12 tribe chart. And we're going to give our input and insight from our perspective. All right. Let me go ahead and share my screen.
The worst freaking state to live in right now is Oklahoma, and nobody's talking about it.
I definitely have a lot to say about this subject matter, but I got to warm you guys up first and just kind of let you know what motivated it. You know, unlike the majority of people that go online and, you know, use YouTube, when I tackle comments in the community, it's for the benefit of the community. I'm a fairly intelligent guy. I'm going to say fairly. I know what it takes to spark and create controversy, but that's not what I'm about. If I wanted to become the biggest YouTube platform and channel, believe you me, I could do so. It would require selling my soul, something that I'm absolutely not going to ever do, but I know what it requires. It would require me compromising my moral integrity. I know what it requires, but I can't do that. But I gotta say, when you guys see me tackle a conversation, a topic that's controversial, it's truly because it needs to be dealt with. And this is one such topic. I want you guys to also bear with me. I'm not sure if you can hear it in my voice. Got a little cold brewing. Got some tea going, but I made sure I was going to still get it in regardless. And so for many years, I've said to myself, I don't want to talk about the chart openly because as an attention device, as an attention grabber, it's effective. A lot of awakened Hebrews, a lot of awakened Israelites have awakened to the truth of what the Bible has to say about the identity of our people throughout the diaspora. However, the level of accuracy of the chart, I always knew and understand that it was wrong. My teachers always taught us it was wrong. And ever since the early 90s, I'm giving you guys my timeline. My teachers, some of my eldest teachers, they go back to the 60s and even some the 50s in this way of life. But my timeline, I emerged in the Israelite community in 1994. I'm in New York City where I can currently live and reside. And as I went through New York City, you know, you can't help but notice 42nd Street, Times Square. It's lit. Huh? Tupac ain't been shot for the first time yet. Biggie's still running around Brooklyn, Bed-Stuy. New York is a different time. But when you hit 42nd Street, we all knew who you were going to encounter. The Hebrew Israelites. When I was younger, I didn't know that there was a difference. I didn't know that there was Israelites that had different views. You know, that came later on that year in 1994. But my introduction to Israelites was the guys we saw on 125th, but predominantly the guys we saw on 42nd Street. And they would always pass out pamphlets. And the pamphlets would tell us that if you are Black or colored or Hispanic, so-called Negro, West Indian, that you are the true house.
All right. So his introduction and receiving of the pamphlet came from One West. the first time he's seen anything about being an Israelite came from One West via his own testimony.
Of Israel. And the brother spoke with power and command and authority. And many of them had a gift of gab. They knew how to galvanize young men and young women. And they were very effective. And it was hard to pass them and see that 12 tribes chart, look at it, realizing some of your ancestry is right there. So the first thing that popped out to me is my parents, both of them are of Caribbean descent. So where do we fit on the chart? And it said Benjamin. Now, I didn't really know the Bible back then, but I knew about Judah. My father, his close friend, a Rastafarian, his name is Judah. They both attended Medgar Evers College in the late 80s into the early 90s. So I always came up knowing names like Judah, you know, surrounded by Rastafarians. Remember, I live in Brooklyn, and I also have Rastafarians in my family. So I always had this understanding. Then I have family members that are into what we call reggae sound system culture, right? Big shout out to my cousin in the Bronx, Supertone, right? And so through all of those things, I early became acquainted with the Israelite movement. But it wasn't until about 1996, maybe even 1997, that I became seasoned enough to start to realize what was problematic about various things being taught in the Israelite communities. And immediately, one of those things that stood out was the 12 tribes chart. Number one, the way that Israelites thought. With that said,
this game, you're not ready for.
All right, we're gonna speed up a little bit. If you guys want to go watch that video, you can go to Zion Lexx channel.
Everyone,
you can watch that video in its totality.
This game, you're not ready for it.
I decided to have this.
All right. So I want to say this real quick, right? When you do that with the 12 tribe breakdown, each tribe breakdown concerning the books and the historical the history that is required to study these topics, right? It takes hours upon hours as you go into each tribe, right? I don't have all that time tonight. So what I'm going to try to do, right, is I'm going to try to deal with three particular tribes, well, 3 or 4, right? Benjamin, Levi, I'm going to do some Gad, right, and Judah. Because again, you have to come into class and you have to go through the process and to get the full breakdown. You don't get to just come across something, somebody tell you a little bit about it, and then you got the full understanding. No, if you truly are interested and you want to know, you can join the classes and you can get the full breakdown. It's going to take some time, a lot of time. All right. So I want to go ahead and put that out there. I'm going to continue to play this video. I'm going to start about the 20-minute mark as I start to deliberate on my breakdown.
Discussion tonight publicly because I knew that the time was here. You can't go anywhere on planet Earth and say you never heard what an Hebrew Israelite is. With respect to our brothers in the awakening, many of them, part of what we call One West or One West splinter groups, many of them are directly responsible for waking up our brothers and sisters. And for that, I thank them. And for that, I am very gracious towards their hard work and effort. I would even warn people over the years that beware of speaking about certain groups of Israelites because they put in so much work to put our name out there.
All right, so I truly appreciate the brother acknowledging that, right? I truly appreciate the brother acknowledging the work that has come from our brothers and our elders from One West. But this is an identification mark here. If you yourself, coming from an Old Testament Israelite perspective, can notice and recognize the work that the brothers have done in popularizing, right, the truth, being an Israelite, right, identifying as an Israelite, and coming back to these laws, statutes, and commandments. If you can acknowledge that it was because of these brothers' work, that's an identification mark. What do I mean? Let me share my screen. Right. All right. So as we can see here, it says 20 minutes and 54-second mark to the 22nd and 55th second mark. He makes mention of that work. What does the Bible say concerning Judah here? It says what? Zechariah chapter 12, verse 7. It says, the Lord also shall save the tents of Judah first, that the glory of the house of David and the glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem do not magnify themselves against Judah. Now, I had a conversation with my brother Judah. Shout out to Judah Moshe, who's efficient in the Hebrew, right? So I had a conversation with him concerning this verse. And it says that the Lord also shall save the tents of Judah. So as I'm having this conversation with him, he's telling me about saved, right? In the Hebrew, as we look at it, it means to be delivered, right? So I asked him this critical question, right? About being saved and being delivered. The question is, will the Most High God save or deliver the wicked? Right? And the brother had to be honest and say, of course not. The Bible says in Amos 9:10 that the Most High God is going to destroy with the sword the wicked of Israel and Judah, right? So in order to not be wicked, in order to be saved, you have to come to the understanding, you have to come to the awakening, you have to come to the knowledge of your responsibilities in your relationships with the Most High and the Mashiach Yahushua, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. You have to come to that, and so that you can be endowed with the Holy Spirit, right? Which is what? Wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, Isaiah 11:2. Wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, right? So this is a part of the awakening. So he's going to awaken, or he's going to save Judah first. Where are they located? Where is Judah located? The brother said you cannot go nowhere on earth and not know about the Israelites. And he wants to credit One West, right, for being at the forefront of awakening our nation. Where is One West located? In the Americas, in the United States. You didn't come to this understanding from somebody from China. You didn't come to this understanding from somebody from India. You didn't come to this understanding from somebody from Africa. Okay? You came to this understanding from brothers in New York City, standing on street corners, then a multitude of different camps, schools, and organizations came out of that. Not only them, but there are many brothers, such as the organization I came out of Chicago, Israelite Heritage, right? As they are doing their work, awakening, sounding the trumpet, right? As they're doing their work, where are they located? In the Americas. America is the #1 country on planet Earth. We know that there's rivalries with China. We know that there's rivalries with Russia and concerning about who's #1 on planet Earth. But statistically and right now, we know America is the #1 country on the earth. As you start looking at the Caribbean islands in South America, these places are considered third world countries, man. So the awakening didn't happen in the Caribbean. It didn't happen in South America. It happened right here in America, man. That's very important that you understand that, right? We're going to move on to the 27-second mark, all right? Let's see here. All right, we're going to move on.
But I got to admit something. The time is now, and the time is up. Even though many of those groups did an amazing job, an incredible job at taking the name of Israel and plastering it all over the world virtually.
Let me show you something that makes me furious every time I see it. This is a real tax return from someone making $284,972 per year in a W-2.
Their doctrines have stained the face of the Israelite movement. So at what point do we sacrifice integrity and morality simply because they have been effective in waking people up? These are the same groups that are literally the embarrassment of the Israelite community. And when I say embarrassment, I mean their doctrine. Damn, I even mean how some of them look, to be quite honest. And so I understood the calling, and I understood what was upon me. And so when you guys see me do what I'm going to do this evening, just know that first and foremost is all praise to the Most High.
Y'all know I got to address this, right? So I have my own clothing business called Garments of Vengeance, right? We've been in operation since about 2012, right? And I have a reputation of quality work, right? I don't have a bad reputation of someone ordering from me and they don't get their product. I don't have that. I don't have that reputation. All right. The clothes I'm wearing now is something that I made, right? So this idea of embarrassment, I understand what he's saying because there are certain groups that believe that, you shouldn't look nice. There's a teaching, I believe, out of GMS that you're supposed to wear sackcloth, right? When I came around in the truth about 2000, I say probably about 2008, 2009, I seen that. I seen some brothers that look real rough on the streets, man, not presentable at all. But then I seen another organization and another group of brothers with the One West movement. Shout out to Maharakar, Elder Zabak, Elder Priest Awam, Elder Kahan, Elder Shalom. Man, listen, these brothers were super nice. They were super fly on the corner, man. They had their garments, they had creases in the arms, they had their girdles on. These brothers was fly, man. This is what I seen. These brothers was fly, teaching the word, right? And I see other organizations that, that wasn't. So that was something appealing to me, right? So I said, we can look nice while doing the work of the Lord. We don't have to be bummy doing the work. So I never came in with the idea of looking bummy, going out, standing on the street corners, right? So shout out to the We Got Next movement for showing me that, man. Even IUIC, they look nice when they're standing on the corners, man. So I think GOCC at that time, they presented themselves. Usually they were all white. They look nice. You understand? So I don't know. You know, I understand what he's going about, how they look and all that, but everybody ain't that way. I just want to put that out there. All right.
That. Let's get it. I'm going to issue a stern warning too. Fire a warning shot. When I just want to remind people that if you know anything about me, and you know anything about my work, I always keep something to the side. People that know me in the streets know me very well for that. And people who know me in this YouTube land somewhat know me for that. I always got something to the side. I want to say I always got it on me. With that being said, once this presentation is out, I welcome all that feel froggy. And I'd love to jump in and have a conversation and or a debate if need be. If you even make it there. Let's see. A critical examination of the 12 tribes chart in light of history, Torah, and the transatlantic slave trade.
Did you lose a lot of money sports betting on DraftKings or FanDuel?
The 12 tribes chart is a theological and cultural construct primarily associated with what some call the Black Hebrew Israelite movement, which is a silly misnomer because to say Black Hebrew Israelite assumes things that are just out of sync with history, which posits that specific modern ethnic groups are the descendants of the 12 tribes of Israel. This chart has generated significant debate and scrutiny, particularly when viewed through the lens of history, the Torah, and the transatlantic slave trade. Historically, there is scant evidence to support the precise genealogical claims made by the chart, as the links between ancient Israelites and contemporary ethnic groups are largely speculative and lack corroborative archaeological or genetic data. So, from a Torah perspective, the definitive lineage of the 12 tribes is outlined in biblical texts, yet these do not provide a basis for the chart's claims, which often interpret scripture to fit modern identities. Furthermore, the transatlantic slave trade is a complex historical event that involved the forced migration and enslavement of millions of Africans, whose diverse origins do not align neatly with the chart's assertions. This chart, therefore, faces criticism for its historical inaccuracies and for potentially oversimplifying and distorting both biblical narratives and the multifaceted history of the African diaspora. Identity, memory, and the limits of charts. Within the modern Hebrew Israelite movement, particularly among One West camps, the 12 tribes chart emerged as a tool meant to restore identity to scattered descendants of Israel. Its intention is not inherently malicious. Let's point that out. Its intention is not inherently malicious. It seeks to answer the Torah's question of exile, where it says, "And the Lord will scatter you among all peoples," Deuteronomy 28:64. However, while the chart is rhetorically powerful, it collapses under historical, demographic, and biblical scrutiny. The Torah speaks of dispersion, fragmentation, and loss of lineage continuity, not of neat ethnic blocks preserved intact by tribe across continents. What follows is an explanation of the One West understanding of where the tribes are said to be today, a historical dismantling of that framework based on the realities of the transatlantic slave trade, documentary evidence showing constant reshuffling of enslaved Africans across the Atlantic world, and a focused case study on Liberia, which on its own alone disproves rigid tribal geographic assignments. No charts are used by design because history itself refuses to move in straight lines.
All right. So the first thing I want to do with is the idea that he says here that the Torah speaks of diaspora, fragmentation, and loss of lineage continually, not of neat ethnic blocks preserved intact by tribe, right? So this is what he says, but it's amazing to me that maybe he failed to realize this point here, right? Let's look at something, right? We're going to go to 1 Kings, and it says something here that you all need to see, right? We're going to start at 47, right? Let me put this on the screen so you all can see this. All right. See if I can blow this up. 1 second here. All right. So now, as you all can see, it says, let me get this right. All right, it says what? Okay, scripture didn't pull up. 1 second, family. 1 second. All right. All right. So we at 1 Kings 8 and 47. 1 Kings 8 and 47. What does it say here? Yet if they shall bethink themselves in the land, whether they were carried captive. Now, bethink, right, family, means to remember. It means to remember. Okay? So it says, if they shall bethink themselves, right? If they shall think to bethink themselves in the land, whether they were carried captive, and repent, do what? And repent and make supplication unto thee, where? In the land of them that carried them captive. So what is this telling you and I? That in the land where we are carried captive, which is America, we shall bethink ourselves. Now, what does it mean to remember? We're going to remember our culture. We're going to remember our land. We're going to remember our language. We're going to remember our tribal origin and identity. We're going to start to remember these things. So we don't have to wait till we go back to Jerusalem before we find out, well, brother, what tribe you end up being from? Oh, I'm from the tribe of Gad. Well, what tribe you end up from? Oh, I'm from the tribe of Levi. No. We're going to remember where in the land where we were carried captive. Verse 48. And so return unto thee with all thine heart and with all thy soul, where? In the land of their enemies. Very important that you understand this. Which what? Led them away captive and prayed unto thee toward their land. How are we supposed to know this? How are we supposed to know this? So we should just be satisfied, right, with just knowing that I'm an Israelite. Oh, what tribe you from, brother? I don't know what tribe I'm from, bro, but I just know I'm an Israelite. Well, then you got to do some more research, bro. You got to do some more studying. You got to be able to look at these tribal characteristics. And this is how we're able to discern these things. In the land which led them away captive, and pray unto thee toward their land, which thou gavest unto their fathers, the city which thou hast chosen, and the house which I have built for thy name. See? So this is in contrast to, oh, well, we're in captivity, so we're supposed to lose our identity, and so therefore we ain't gonna never get it back till we get back in the land. That ain't true. That ain't true. We are going to wake up where? In the land of our captivity. All right. Let's see what we got here. All right. So let me make this point. Let me make this point here. All right. So if everybody could see this, let me see if I can. All right. Everybody can see this. It says Ezekiel 37. Now, one thing that I feel that is of the utmost importance that you all understand is that we are instructed to do something, okay? We're instructed to do something. And the question is, why are you not doing it, Zion Lexx? It says in Ezekiel 37, starting at the 16th verse, moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick and write upon it for Judah and for the children of Israel, his companion. Then take another stick and write upon it for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel, his companion. Right? And join them one to another in one stick, and they shall become what? One in thine hand. And when the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, and saying, will thou not show us what thou meanest by these? Right? So when Zion Lexx was walking on 49th Street, or whatever street he was in New York, when he was walking and he seen the brothers and he seen the 12 tribe chart, and he said, my family's from West India, the West Indies. So where I fit on the chart, I'm from the tribe of Benjamin, according to the chart. That's what Ezekiel 37 is talking about, man. That's what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to write these things on a stick, so when people come up and they say, hey, what's this mean? Right? So the question is, if you don't have a 12 tribe chart, or if you don't have a chart period, why not? Because according to Ezekiel 37, you're supposed to have something that the people can look to and say, hey, what do you mean by this? What do you mean by this? Right? So this is what we're instructed to do. Right? It says here, join them one to another in one stick, and they shall become one in thine hand. And when the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, saying, what dost thou, will thou not show us what thou meanest by these? Verse 19, say unto them, thus saith who? The Lord God, behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribe of Israel, his fellow, and will put them with him, even with the stick of Judah, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in thine hand. That is instruction. That is clear, brothers and sisters. That's clear. So what are we supposed to be actually doing, right? What are we supposed to be actually doing? All right. We'll get back to the video here.
the One West teaching, where each tribe is said to be today. Let me say something very, very clearly from the outset so that no one is confused. I don't necessarily disagree with some of the people's tribes and ethnicities on the chart being bloodline biblical Israelites. That's not my contention. My contention is not to look at any one tribe on the chart and their modern connection or parallel and say they're not Israelites. That's not my intention. I need everyone to know that from the beginning.
That's good.
What my intention is to truly say is that it's a logical fallacy to claim that anyone can report with full accuracy where each tribe went.
It is a illogical fallacy that you can purport where anyone went, but the tribes themselves have characteristics, family. We're going to get into it. I'm going to show you tonight that the tribes have personality. The tribes have characteristics, biblical characteristics that we can identify that will express their character.
I'm going to bring out all of the historical records and historical receipts and historical realities that make the 12 tribes chart a joke at best. It had good intentions and it worked, but we have arrived. The 12 tribes chart was created for added awareness so that people would know where and who the Israelites are. I believe that has been accomplished today. So seeing that has been accomplished today, we got to teach the truth as the truth. And whoever get hit by the truth, so be it. According to one classic One West oral teachings, the tribes are mapped as follows. Judah is the so-called African American. You know what I always found interesting? How the chart was created by African Americans, and somehow they just understood that they are Judah. You know, to people that have a little bit common sense, you just got to ask some simple questions. Where's the motive and agenda in the person that created the chart and made themselves the prime royal tribe? I mean, you really just got to ask yourself some common sense questions. The people, persons, and individual responsible for the 12 tribes chart just happened to make sure that the Black American, who they are, is Judah. Now, let me make something clear. I don't doubt for a single second that Judah is among African Americans. But let me tell you something. Judah is among Afro-Caribbeans. Judah is among African Israelites on the continent right now. To act as if Judah is just the Negro, the American Negro, is silly. And I'm going to slap you in the face. I might even chin check you with so much information that you'll be embarrassed to ever say that publicly again.
He's going to slap you in the face with information that you would be embarrassed to say that publicly again. I'm saying publicly that the American Negro is the tribe of Judah. Now, I want to make this clear. This does not mean that individuals from the tribe of Judah is not in other places. The Bible said we would be scattered. So this is not about individuals or small groups. This is about the larger group and the impact culturally that they would have on the world stage. That's what this is about. Have the people of the Caribbean had a larger impact on the world stage as the American Negro? We can check the statistics and see. We can check that and see, right? What about the people of Central America? Judah that's in Central America. Have they had as much impact on the world stage as the American Negro? What about the people of Haiti or the people of Puerto Rico or the island of Jamaica? Have they had a greater impact? The answer is no. Let's look at a few things here. Right? Let's look at a few things here. All right. So let's go here. All right. So of course, 12 tribe chart we have here. We started here. We made the statement that he would wake up the tents of Judah first, right? And now we dealt with Ezekiel. All right, so let's deal with Genesis chapter 49, right? Let's deal with Genesis 49. And let's take a look at this, right? Let's take a look at this. Right? It says here, Genesis chapter 49, verse 8 through 10, it says, Judah, thou art whom thy brethren shall praise. Thy hand shall be at the neck of thine enemy. Thy father's children shall bow down before thee. What does this mean, right? When we're looking at the world landscape today. Judah, thou art whom thy brethren shall praise. So Judah would be at the forefront culturally. And the other tribes would emulate Judah. Their hands would be at the neck of their enemy, meaning they would be in close proximity to their enemy. So who benefited the most, right? Who benefited the most on the world stage concerning the transatlantic slave trade? Was it Jamaica? Was it Haiti? Was it Puerto Rico? Was it Brazil? Was it Cuba? Who benefited? Who benefited the most? America turned around and ended up becoming the greatest country on earth. So when you look at these characteristics, that they will be in close proximity, right? Because they have to be in close proximity in order to have their hands on their neck, right? Dealing with our revenge or enactment to our enemies, right? So when we look at Judah being in close proximity, when you look at movies like The Butler, so-called House Negro, right? Who was working in close proximity with the so-called white man? Who was working in close proximity with them, right? Who was doing all of the development, creating and inventions and getting no credit for this stuff? Who was doing that? Right? So Judah, thou art whom thy brethren shall praise when it comes to style and flair, right? It says, Judah's alliance will, from thy prey, thy son, thou art gone up. He stooped down, he crouched as a lion, and as a old lion, who shall rouse him up? The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a law give it from between his feet, until Shiloh comes. So it's important that we start to look now at these particular characteristics, right? Let's look at these characteristics. All right, so right now what's going on is that there is a argument, right, that's going on with the foundational Black Americans, right? And the argument about who started hip hop and who should be a part of reparations. This is the argument that's going on right now. Foundational Black Americans. I believe there was a big schism going on with Fat Joe and some other people concerning foundational Black Americans. So we want to read a little bit about this, right? Let's look at this real quick. All right, so it says here, the primary argument for foundational Black Americans, FBA movement, is that Black people whose ancestors traces to chattel slavery in what is now the United States, right, construct a distinct lineage group that literally built the country and therefore has specific exclusive claims, especially to reparations and political readiness within the U.S. context, right? Core claims about lineage. The FBA framework defines FBA as Black people who can trace their bloodline to enslaved Africans in the United States, typically requiring at least one parent from a non-immigrant Black American background. This lineage focuses is meant to distinguish them from more recent Black immigrants from the Caribbean, Africa, and elsewhere, right? Who are seen as having different historical relationships to the U.S. slavery and Jim Crow. This is important, family. Why? Because Zion Lexx says that he comes from his parents are Caribbean. All right. So that means that neither one of his parents are a foundational Black American. He's not a foundational Black American. All right. So this is something critical that we need to think about on why Zion Lexx is going against the 12 tribe chart. If he has a problem with the 12 tribe chart because foundational Black Americans are claiming to be Judah, he's going to have a problem with that, right? But the reason that foundational Black Americans are from the tribe of Judah is based upon the characteristics of the tribe itself biblically, right? Arguments about building the nation, right? Proponent arguments that FBA ancestry, unpaid labor, and restraints suggest were the foundation of the U.S. economic wealth and much of its culture. They maintain that early European colonials repeatedly failed or remained migrant without enslaved African labor. So the descent of those enslaved people are the true foundation and population in terms of nation building, right? Reparations and policies focus. Because of the specific historical injuries, the movement insists that reparations in the U.S. should be lineage based and targeted to descendants of U.S. slavery, not to all Black people broadly. FBA advocates advocates often argue that the black immigrants should seek reparations from their own former colonial powers, e.g., Britain, France, and Portugal. While FBA's press claims against the U.S. states for slavery, Jim Crow, and ongoing institutions of racism, right? Institutional racism. Culture and identity arguments. FBA ideology also contains that the lineage has produced a unique Black American culture, spiritually, blues, hip hop, food ways, and political traditions that warrant recognition as the distinct ethnic group. Many rejects Pan-Africanism and stress that for FBA's America itself is the motherland and primarily reference points for identity, history, and political struggle. Now, this is important. Why? Because when you're talking about spirituals, blues, jazz, hip hop, this is something that was done and created by foundational Black Americans. All right, which spawned a culture because hip hop has become the number one genre of music in the world. Now, the distinct point here, right? The distinct point here is that when you start to look at the characteristics of the tribes, what is your reputation on the world stage, which would help us identify these particular tribes? This is how we're able to do it, family. Right? So foundational Black Americans and hip hop it ultimately becoming, right, the number one genre of music on planet Earth because of the foundational Black Americans, which are from the tribe of Judah, which now the other tribes, such as Puerto Ricans, such as Jamaicans, such as these other Haitians, right? People like Kodak Black, who's a Haitian. What does he do for a living? He's a rapper. He's in hip hop, which was created by foundational Black Americans, right? Fat Joe, who's a Puerto Rican. What is his job? He does hip hop, right? So this was an argument concerning Fat Joe and trying to say that it was 50%, Spanish people that was involved in it. That whole argument don't have nothing to do with me. But the point is that these are characteristics of the tribe of Judah that he is whom his brethren shall praise. So we go into these characteristics on a world stage, right? And not just as individuals. What have your ethnic group done on the world stage? All right, let's move on here. All right. Political framework and political and legal framing. Some FBA advocates for their claims in the terms of indigenous, right? Quasi-indigenous rights argues that the FBAs form a distinct people with the right to self-definition and specific protection under the framework like the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. From this angle, delineate FBA as a separate category is seen as a necessity and a political movement source benefits and guarded against dilution of their specific historical claims inside of a broader Black or peoples of color. So, okay, that's it on that. So, again, it's important that we be able to identify as we look at these different groups and these particular characteristics. Now I want to look at this right here. Look at this right here. All right. This is a list of Black American inventors, right? Here is a consistent list of notable Black American inventors, especially focused on everyday life and major technology. This is only a sample. There are hundreds more documented and dedicated to this list and timeline. 1800s, dry cleaning process. So when you go and you look at all of this stuff that foundational Black Americans have done, this has not just impacted America, but these things have been used on the world stage at large, okay? Right? Household and everyday items, right? If you just look, all it is a simple Google search. You can look up these things yourself, right? As you all can see these things on the screen, this is the impact of so-called foundational Black Americans, all right? So I now want to get back to the video. So it says, let's see, should be at the 29-minute mark. See where we at. Okay, yeah, we good. All right.
The worst state to live in right now is Oklahoma, and nobody's talking about it.
You know, that's crazy.
Judah, they say, is the.
Let me say this real quick. I know Maharika somewhere laughing. I live in Oklahoma. That's probably why that dumb commercial keep popping up. But it keep coming up and it says the worst place to live is Oklahoma. And it's an insurance thing, man. But I know Maharika somewhere laughing about that. All right. Let's get to it.
So-called African American. Benjamin is the West Indians. And then they say that's Jamaicans primarily. Let me just tell you what I automatically know as a child of West Indian parents. This person is silly that made up this chart. The Caribbean is so much bigger than the island of Jamaica. The island of Jamaica has great contributions for the Caribbean, I want to say even the world over, but the Caribbean is much more bigger than Jamaica. So when you hear people speaking like that, when they hear a Caribbean accent and they assume everything is Jamaican, you already know that they're out of touch with Caribbean culture. As I continue. They say the tribe of Levi is the Haitians. They say Ephraim is the Puerto Ricans. They say Manasseh is the Cubans. They say Simeon is the Dominicans. But hold on, before I go any further, does anybody know what islands are part of the Caribbean? Because the last time I checked, the West Indies consists of Haiti, Puerto Rico, Cuba, and the Dominican Republic. So how in the hell did this genius, and I mean that in the most disrespectful way, that created the 12 tribes chart, how did this genius figure out to divide Haitians, Puerto Ricans, Cubans, and Dominicans from the West Indies when they are clearly part of the West Indies. I mean, more on that in the next slide. Then they say Zebulon is from Guatemala to Panama. So you know what that is already. They ran out of isolated places. So now it's from Guatemala all the way to Panama. Go speak to a Panamanian, of which I have in my family. Go speak to Panamanians, of which I know several. And please tell them that they're not Caribbean. Please tell them that they're not West Indian. The person that made the 12 tribes chart, the only part of West Indies they're familiar with is Brooklyn, Bronx, and maybe Queens. Where's my fire emojis in the chat? Because clearly this person is out of touch with Caribbean culture. Let me keep going. They say Issaskar is the Mexicans. And wait on that. Wait till you hear why.
My bad, family. I was on mute. So now, you know what's funny? You know, Jamaica is, you know, as we look at the map, Jamaica is, there's other islands that are nearby. And this is why the 12 tribes. Now, I wasn't there, right? I wouldn't have made some of these things that he's pointing out. Like, I wouldn't have made some of these. I would not have put some of these things on the chart itself. I didn't make the chart, right? I'm looking at the chart from the perspective of what are the characteristics of the Jamaicans, right? What are Jamaicans known for, right? So the Bible says that Benjamin is a ravening wolf, right? So what is the distinction between, let's say, a wolf, a dog, or a coyote? What distinguishes them, the difference between them, right? Wolves, they howl. They howl at the moon. Listen, these are what? Characteristics. So Jamaica, what are they known for on the world stage? And I keep saying world stage because it's important, because what are they known for? Let's look. Okay, let's look. All right. All right, here we go. So it says, what is the most distinct cultural framework Jamaicans are known for worldwide? What are they known for, family? Let's see. Right? Benjamin is a howling wolf, right? And so it says the most distinct cultural framework Jamaicans are known for worldwide is the intertwining complex of reggae music and Rastafari. See? I didn't make this up. This is what they are known for. Howling at the moon. Right? They're known for reggae music and Rastafari, including its symbols, colors, languages, style, and social justice, right? Because Jamaican music, right? Jamaican music is distinct within itself, and it's revolutionary music, right? Great music, right? Revolutionary movement, and they're very biblical, right? They speak about the tribe of Judah, right? They're very, spiritual people, which is a great and wonderful thing, right? Somebody said they're known for the ganja, yeah. But what they're primarily known for is reggae music, right? So now, when you compare reggae music to hip hop, foundational Black Americans, have reggae taken over the world stage? It's popular, but it's not as popular as hip hop. You all can understand the distinction between the two. These are parallels that we have to be able to identify, and the Bible speaks of these things. This is how we're able to identify distinct tribes from the others, right? They do music all throughout the Caribbean. But one thing that Jamaica is known for is reggae music, right? One thing that foundational Black Americans are known for is hip hop, jazz, So these are the things that we're able to distinguish when it comes to the comparison from tribe to tribe, right? Let's see here. It says the reggae and its offshoots, reggae, dance hall, are the main global lens through which people encounter Jamaicans, often ties to themes of restraint, spiritual consciousness, and social critiques. Rastafari as a religion and culture and movement was relatively small in Jamaica, but became globally visible because of reggae artists using it as their ideology, backbone, and visual identity, right? Rastafari symbols, locks, lifestyle, and the red and green and gold patterns now functions worldwide as shorthands for Jamaicans, even amongst non-Rastafaris, reggae. So these again are characteristics, right? Let's move on here.
They say that is. They say Asher is the Colombians. Naphtali is the Argentinians. Reuben, when we get there, I almost want to fast forward the slides because I'm going to have y'all rolling. They say Reuben is family.
You have it listen, you type it in, and then you go digging.
These are going to be separated. The 12 tribes chart is internally inconsistent and historically inaccurate because it treats key Caribbean island nations as if they are outside of or distinct from the West Indies, when historically and geographically, they are unequivocally West Indian. Haiti, the Dominican Republic, and Puerto Rico have always been classified as part of what's called the Greater Antilles and the West Indies in colonial records.
Now, for me, right, that's really a non sequitur because somebody making a mistake on the chart. Nobody said that the chart is infallible or it was penned by God or this is something that, no, man, like if we're having a discussion concerning West Indies and I'm explaining to you characteristics of Jamaicans that is found in the Bible, right? And I'm showing you like this is a characteristic of the people and this is what they're known for on the world stage. And then you trying to harp on the fact that West Indies were attached at the end of Jamaica and now you want to try to, act as if it's excluding. West Indies is the whole Caribbean, what we call the Caribbean islands, right? The reason it's called West Indies is because they thought or made the claim that Columbus called this area India because he was trying to get to India, find a new route to India or whatever. So they call it the West Indies. That's all. Why are you, Zion, why are you harping on that as if that's some sort of deal breaker? That's a deal breaker because it got West India on there, bro. Come on, man. Let's deal with these characteristics, bro. All right? Let's go.
Time trade routes and academic geography. By failing to represent this long-established classification, the chart redraws historical boundaries to fit predetermined tribal conclusions rather than allowing history to inform identity, thereby undermining its own credibility and exposing that its framework is shaped more by modern ideology than by verifiable historical reality. You know, for some people, common sense is just not that common. The arrows, everyone, on the screen indicate clear contradictions in the 12 tribes chart, separating Haiti, Puerto Rico, Cuba, and Dominican Republic from the West Indies means you probably never left the 5th grade.
I mean, like, all those, I don't know why this brother continually repeats, you know, I mean, I don't know why, you know, he continually repeats 5th grade. You know, I get it. You're trying to insult, but the whole thing is that you're not taking in consideration the other critical information that is needed for people to actually understand what is trying to be conveyed with the chart itself. And instead of dealing with what's actually trying to be conveyed so we can make a critical analysis of what point is, you know, we're trying to bring forth, you're going to miss it based upon these small fragments of issues that you have. So I'm just going to throw the baby out with the bathwater, huh? Come on, man. Like, let's deal with these characteristics.
In the Torah's language of exile, scattering, not preservation, the Tanakh never describes exile as a group relocation by tribe. All the tribes were separated perfectly. Even though history records, the Torah records that your sons and daughters shall be given to another people. I want everybody in the chat room right now to put the chapter and verse in the book of Deuteronomy, where it literally says, your sons and daughters shall be given to another people. I want somebody to put the chapter and the verse, and I want you guys to throw some fire emojis when I start to connect the dots.
All right, so your sons and your daughters, right? Your sons and your daughters being given to another people, right? Is that when they went into Africa, right? They usually killed all the warrior men, right? And they killed the elderly, right? Who had the knowledge and had the history. They killed them off. And they killed off the warrior men. They kept the women and the children. And those were the ones that went to another people. Now, all of this didn't happen at once when they went into Africa. They just go in there, 100 million slaves, and then went back over. But this was something over a 400-year period of them gradually going into certain areas and pulling people out. Those people that they were pulling out were already separated in their tribal groups. So if I go in and I say, okay, these people are from the tribe of Benjamin, I'm going to take these people to Jamaica. And then another group will come in and say, these people are from the tribe of Levi. I'm going to take these people are ultimately going to go into Haiti, right? Or I'm going to go in and I'm going to grab these people from Simeon, and they're ultimately going to go on the other side of Haiti. This is how it was, but he's acting as if that's some sort of far-fetched thing. The tribes were always separated. This is why when we went into the land, right, each tribe had their own designated land that was given to them. And that carried on throughout their generations. Judah always congregated amongst Judah. Benjamin always congregated amongst Benjamin. Levi was scattered, but still in the different parts where Levi was in the different tribal regions, they was amongst themselves, right? This is for tribal preservation is why they're doing this. So if you're going into Africa and they are separated and you say, okay, I'm going to get this particular tribal group, I'm going to take this tribal group to South America, I'm going to take this tribal group to Central America. They were taking the different tribes as they went. I don't think that's a hard thing to understand.
If the Bible tells us, if the Torah tells us, your sons and daughters shall be given to another people, isn't that the Torah also telling us families are going to be separated? Where's my fire emojis and where's my bombs? Because common sense clearly isn't that common. Common sense clearly isn't that common. For the Torah to say, your sons and daughters shall be given to another people, it's also telling you, genius, that families would be divided and separated. So how are you saying that entire tribes went to particular regions when the mother went on a ship going north? If I'm making sense, put a fire emoji in the room. And the father went on a ship going south. And the brother went on a ship going east. And sister went west. How do you know where each tribe is when the very system of slavery divided families? I mean, y'all gotta be super brilliantly dumb to really hold that chart up in 2026.
All right, so let me address that, right? So first and foremost, today, it is very costly to travel, okay? So usually when the families were split, they were split amongst the city in which they dwelt. You didn't just come pick somebody up from Alabama and then take them to Jamaica or take them to Haiti or take them to Puerto Rico. No, the families were split and they would go 2 miles up the road. Or the further they would go, maybe from Alabama to Georgia, right? Or, I'm talking about the southern region, from Alabama to Louisiana, this type of separation. Not separations where, the family's going to be taken completely into a whole nother stratosphere and nobody know where they are. These people who enslaved us kept strategic records concerning the travel and where the families were being separated. And usually they were separated in their own cities. So I'm trying to understand why is he trying to harp on that as if it's far-fetched to understand that you would separate the families based upon, hey, I got a partner 2 miles down the road, 6 miles down the road that wants to buy some slaves, so I'm going to sell them to him. It's intercommunical commerce is what it is. Intercommunical commerce within ourselves. All right. So I just want to bring that out.
And some of y'all even have your little children there that are going to grow up to realize once they hit the 5th grade that you are slow. The Tanakh never describes exile as a group relocation by tribe. It uses languages of to scatter violently, to winnow like grain, to mix. My sheep were scattered all over the face of the earth with none to search or seek. None but high priest Ariah. None but high priest Ariah, son of Yaakov. Right? Is that what the verse said? That's what I read? Let me read it again. My sheep were scattered all over the face of the earth with none to search except somebody from the one west that pronounces shalom, shalom. Y'all can't even come together to figure out how your language sounds. But you could be a super genius and figure out, even though families were divided and separated, where exactly they went. 100,000 of y'all can't come in the same room to figure out that shalom ain't shalom, but you done figured out where each tribe went. This is embarrassing. Y'all are an embarrassment. From the Power Ranger suits to the...
Your health deserves more than guesswork. At Prenuvo, our whole body
All
MRI
right.
scans for hundreds of conditions without any...
Again, that is vitriol coming from the hatred of the commandment keepers in One West. One West, by the way, is an address. Okay. It's actually UPK, School of Universal Practical Knowledge. They separated from the commandment keepers. And the commandment keepers was teaching their students to have no dealings with the School of Universal Practical Knowledge. So that vitriol that you're hearing from him and this Power Ranger stuff, let me tell y'all something, man. That Power Ranger stuff is extremely offensive. Why? Because when you read in Revelation chapter 1, I want you to say to YirmeYah, who you ignorantly call Jesus Christ. I want you to say that to him. Say that he's a Power Ranger because it's in the book. You know, the one that you have professed to follow now. I want you to say that to him. Call him a Power Ranger, right? This is Revelation chapter 1. Right? Don't want to put it on the screen. No, I'll just read it real quick. Revelation chapter 1, verse 13 says, in the midst of the 7 candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot, and girded about the paps with a golden girdle. And this is what you see emulated within the schools of One West. This is what we wear, right? So for you to sit up there and mock the clothes we're trying to emulate Christ is unbelievable to me, because call Christ a Power Ranger. You ain't gonna do it, okay? Because that's what he had on. All right. So, you know, again, we've been fighting that, trying to embrace our culture, trying to embrace our ancestral practices, which y'all don't do. Okay? You don't do that. All right? You run around here with your damn zeets on and all that, acting like you fulfilling Numbers chapter 36, and you not. Okay? Because now that you believe in the Mashiach Yahushua, now that you believe the woman that was bleeding for 12 months touched the hem of his garment, which was his fringes. Okay? Which is on the hem of his garment that was, you know, down to the foot. And then you say something about Power Rangers because we wear our gauntlets and our armbands. Well, we can see that in the book of Maccabees. It says that we wore, the young men wore warlike apparel. In war, you wear gauntlets in war. But again, that vitriol comes passed down from the school in which the brother comes from. He may pronounce that he following Hamashiach Yahushua now, following the Messiah now, but that vitriol is still in him. You can see it.
Y'all are an embarrassment, man. This is long overdue. This is long overdue. If this is long overdue, put some fire emojis in the room. If this is long overdue, like, share, subscribe. Donate to support the platform. This is a platform, everyone, that has consistently brought excellent information. Not within the last year, decades. Respect the journey. Let's go. Let's talk about sources, something the proponents of the 12 tribes chart lack. And they lack it so much that I'm going to show you a video of them. Oh, it's going to get nasty. It's going to get nasty. If you got the 12 tribes chart, like the actual foldable chart in your house, throw it out the window now. Please. Because your child gonna walk by as they hearing this live stream, look at the chart, look at you as the chart is looking at you, looking at the chart, and then say to you, that's diabolical. Throw it out the window. The transatlantic slave trade, families were systemically destroyed. Families were deliberately separated. Plantation economies intentionally split families to prevent rebellion. You know, it's always the fine print that the brilliant geniuses don't ever see. You know, you'll hear rhetoric like, there's records. There's records of this. There's documentation. In the words of Steve Harvey, I don't believe most of y'all could spell documentation that's holding up a 12 tribe chart. With all due respect, in the words of Steve Harvey.
I don't understand why that's necessary, Zion Lexx. I don't understand why that's necessary. So we're going to go to some historical books here, right? Here's a historical book. The Jews in America, that Americas are that of that race, are Americans of that race, right? This book is by Thomas Thurgood, right? Here's another book, another historical source, right? America being the latest and most accurate description of the New World, book 1, right? See if y'all can see that, right? Right? Here's another book, historical book, right? The Mysteries of the Mexican Pyramids. Now, one thing that's significant about this book is that a lot of you don't understand that America was a metropolis before Christopher Columbus came here. It was already a place of much commerce and people coming in and out. And then in this book, it actually gives you maps of North America, what it looked like up and down the Mississippi River, right? Whole communities and cities that was here. But they show you movies like Western movies. They show you movies and you think about the West and how the West was wide open and all that. No, what they did not show you was the civilizations that they were destroying. All right. And in this historical book, I'm trying to see if I can find a page with the cities and the maps of those cities. Right. And the pyramids in which were created in North America. Right. Whole metropolis in America. Right. Here's one complex city. See this? Right? Whole complex cities, man. Right? And when you start to go into, right, dealing with the different tribes in America, I'm not teaching that all the people in North America are Native American, are Israelites. I don't teach that. And he even said that he had to acknowledge that some of the so-called Native Americans are from the tribe of are Israelites, right? He had to acknowledge that. Why? Because culturally speaking, you're going to find out that these people have cultural practices, right? Here's another historical book that you claim we don't have, right? This book is called, and I encourage you all to get this book, man. It's called A Short Account of the Destruction of the Indies by Bartholomew de la Casa, right? And in this book, man, a lot of horrific atrocities were committed, right? These are people being burnt alive in Puerto Rico, right? So you start to find out that the people of Puerto Rico fit the curses of Deuteronomy 28, right? You start finding out that, and this book deals with primarily the horrific acts that happened in Puerto Rico, right? Which I lived in Puerto Rico for 2 years, so I was able to go there and see a lot of the cultural practices. This is an image of people being thrown in spiked pits. And as you can see right here, a child is being dashed against the stone, right? So he claimed that we don't have sources, but we do have sources, right, concerning how we can align the curses of Deuteronomy 28 with the people of the Caribbean islands, right? So again, this book is a short account of the destruction of the Indies by Bartholomew de la Casa, right? Here's another historical book, and I'm going to read a few excerpts out of here. This is The History of the American Indians by James Adair. Now, in this book, it asserts 21 accounts of the parallels of these Indians that he encountered, and how they parallel Israelite culture, right? So I'm gonna read a few excerpts out of here, right? It's, like I said, man, I'm trying to be diplomatic with this whole situation. It's not necessary for me to disrespect the brother Zion Lexx. Like I said, I respect a lot of what the work he's done, a lot of the work that he's done in the language. I need to become more efficient in the language, right? In modern Hebrew. But I think that these historical accounts are important when it comes to a conversation that I'm going to have with this brother one day soon, right? Shout out to Abaya and Inside the Nation, right? So this is speaking about a woman's time of separation, right? Let's read a little bit of this. The non-observance of this separation, a branch of the marriage law, and the murder of the extreme, the most capital crime when it's time of the woman's separation is ended, they always purify themselves in deep running water, returning home dressed and anointing themselves. They ascribe these monthly periods to the female structure, not to the anger of the, and it's a name in their language, right? Mosaic law of woman's separation, purification after the manner of a woman. The Indian women abstain themselves from their husbands and all of their public company for a considerable amount of time. Why are these people doing this, right? This is an excellent book to get into. I mean, it goes on and on and on. This is James Adar, and I want to read something about James Adar here from Perplexity. Right? Let's see. So later on in the video, he makes a statement about the Mormons and how the Mormons was trying to make a connection, but the thing is, this book, James Adar, was written 100 years before the Mormons even came into existence. So simply because they utilized this book, now they want to connect James Adar to the Mormons. Let's read about this real quick. All right. All right. So it says, James Adar, The History of the American Indians, when 1775, is one of several pre-1830 works that helped shape a wide Hebrew Indian theory that early Latter-day Saints shared, and it is often discussed in relation to the Book of Mormon, though there is no distinct proof that Joseph Smith read the book James Adar. There's no proof that he read this book, but yet you want to say simply because I'm reading this book, now you want to connect it to the Mormons because the Mormons decided they wanted to read the book. Let's continue on. What Adars argued. James Adar claimed that the Native Americans were literally descended of the tribes of Israel and tried to prove this with 20 parallels in language, religion, social organization, and customs. He stressed similarities such as tribal divisions, ideas of a theocratical belief in a supreme God, which he equated with Jehovah, supposed Hebrewism in native language, and art-like rituals. Objections. It says connections to Mormon ideas. The genealogy, the general idea that American Indians were Israelites was circulating widely in Anglo-America Protestant culture before 1830 and became part of the intelligence background for the Book of Mormon's claims that at least some native people descend from Israel. So one thing that I want to make make clear is that the people that are claiming that YirmeYah came up with this 12 tribe chart is not taking into consideration that hundreds and hundreds of years before YirmeYah was even born, they were already making these assertions and claims, right? Based upon anthropology, which is what James Adar utilized by going to live with these people. This is what you call a primary source, brothers and sisters, all right? Why is it a primary source? Because it's written by an eyewitness account, all right? Let's move on. All right. Yeah, let me say this too. All right, because A lot of exclamation list of 1 second, family. List of black inventions. All right, so let's deal with Haiti for a second, right? Let's deal with Haiti for a second. All right, because he made these assertions and these claims several times throughout this video. And like I said, it takes time to disprove certain assertions. So you all have to bear with me. So I'm not going to be able to hold you all night. All right. So what it says here, what is the main cultural practice of the Haitians that is known worldwide? Let's see. The Haitians' cultural practice that is most widely known around the world is what? Voodoo, often spelled voodoo in English, is a systematic religion and system of rituals that blend West and Central Africa spiritual traditions with Roman Catholicism and indigenous Taino elements. What voodoo is a formal religion centered on belief in a supreme creator, Baidai, and many intermediate spirits called Awu, who are honored through ritual, music, and dance. It developed amongst enslaved Africans in colonies, Haiti, and became a key part of resistance. Culture later remained central to the Haitian identity after independence. What it is globally known. Voodoo has been heavily portrayed and often destroyed in foreign media, which helped make it globally recognized, even when misunderstood, especially through images of spells and dolls and animal sacrifice. Outside Haiti, voodoo is practiced in diaspora communities in the Americas and has influenced related traditions in places like Louisiana and parts of Latin America. Places in Haitian culture. Within Haiti, voodoo is deeply woven into daily life. Art, music, dance, festivals such as carnivals and ceremonies for the dead like Fête Gidi, even amongst those who primarily identify as Christians. Many observers describe Haitian culture as a strong spiritual overall, but voodoo stands out as the best known Haitian practice internationally. All right. Let's see. All right. So now I want to make this clear. As we look at the different practices of the Haitians, again, now we're looking at Haiti from a world lens, meaning what are they known for? What are the characteristics? The 12 tribe chart purports that Haitians are Levites, right? Now, what's amazing to me is that Zion Lexx is on here saying nobody knows who nobody is. Nobody knows what tribe nobody's from, but he himself calls himself Bun Levy. Hey, Zion Lexx, how do you know you the son of Levi? How do you know that? If you're on here telling us that no one knows, but you calling yourself Bun Levy. How you do that, man? How do you do that? Okay. So as we look at the other side of the Haitian island, which is the Dominicans, what do they practice? And what are they known for worldwide? Let's look. What is the difference between the practice of voodoo and Santa Maria? Voodoo and what many Spanish-speaking speakers call Santa Maria, better known as Santa Maria, are closely related African Caribbean religions, but they differ in origins, language, Catholic influence, and pantheons, structures. Both blend West African religion with Catholicism, yet each developed in a different colony of distinct European powers and African ethnic base. Names, origins, and geography. Voodoo, often called voodoo, formed mainly in Haiti, shaped in France, shaped in a French colony context amongst enslaved found Iwu people from the Big of Benjamin. Santa Maria, also called La Rio de Ochimo or Santa Maria, developed primarily in Cuba and in a Spanish colony context based mainly in Yoruba religion, right? In voodoo devotions, Siwus, also spelled I-O or IOA, spirits tied to familiar places and natural forces that is taught of Set and principle Iwu and many lesser ones, right? So as we look at the two separations, this practice is not just practice in Haiti, but it's practice because they spread. Like they said, it's went and people practice it in Louisiana primarily, and then in certain other parts of Caribbean. But these people have characteristics of themselves. So these two, Haitians and Dominicans, have these two forms of religion, but they're on the same island. Do the Bible say anything about this? Let's see. Let's see if the Bible says anything about this, right? So when you go to Genesis chapter 49, right? It says what? It says, Genesis 49 and 5, it says, Simeon and Levi are brethren. Instruments of cruelty are in their habitation. What does that mean? Instruments of cruelty are in their habitation. O my soul, come not thou unto their secrets, unto their assemblies. Mine honor be not thou united, for in their anger they slew a man, and in their self-will they dig down a wall. What is this talking about? When you go back into the Bible, right? When you go back into the Bible, you'll find out that the 12, Jacob had a daughter named Dana, right? And Dana was raped by a Canaanite prince, right? And when they found out about it, Jacob did not allow the sons to make war with these people. So Simeon and Levi took it upon themselves to go and kill 600 men, right? And so therefore, this is why it's saying they are brethren, meaning they are alike, right? And why Simeon and Levi, they're brothers of all the other 12 tribes, right? But yet, as we look at them today, they're brethren, they are on the same island. Now, you can take this understanding or not, right? But as we can see, they are on the same island, and what? Instruments of cruelty are in their habitation, family, right? Which is Santa Maria and voodoo, right? Cursed be their anger, for it was fierce, and their wrath, for it was cruel. I will divide them in Jacob and scatter them in Israel, right? So as we can look and we can see these parallels and these practices of these people, let's look at more evidence, okay? All right, so look at this, family. It says here, what are the cultural, make sure you guys can see. What are the cultural and religious sacrifices of voodoo, right? In many voodoo traditions, often misnamed voodoo in English, sacrifice is primarily about maintaining rights, relationships between humans, spirits, and communities, not about genuine violence, right? Clarifying terms. The religion is more accurately called voodoo, Haitian, or voodoo, right? West African, with voodoo being a distinct destroyed, often race labor from colonies and popular Western discourse. These traditions are West and Central African in origin, further shaped in places like Haiti. All right, let's see where religious meaning of sacrifice. Sacrifice is feeding the spirits so they can in turn protect, heal, and guide the community. It is, let's see, rather than one step. I'm trying to find something this particular form of sacrifices and offerings. All right, common offerings include cooked food, fruits, liquor, tobacco, and sometimes animal sacrifices. Specifically, spirits are associated with sacrificing animals, colors, and foods. Animals such as, listen at this, animals such as chickens, goats, pigs, and sometimes bulls are ritually killed with prayers, songs, and prescribed gestures with the blood and meat offering to spirits, and then eating by practice in common feast, right? So I want to show you guys something here. If these are their practices, where did they come from, right? Where did they come from? Let's see here. Where these practices come from? All right, let's look at this. So it says what? What are the biblical tribes of Levi, animal sacrifices and sprinkling of blood? As we just heard with the people of Haiti. In the Bible, the tribe of Levi is the priestly tribe responsible for healing the sacrificial system, including the animal offerings, including the animals offered, the sacrifices themselves, and the sprinkling of blood. They key details are laid out, especially in Leviticus, Numbers, and Chronicles. Tribe of Levi and other roles, the Levites were set apart to serve the sanctuary from within Levi. The sons of Aaron were the priests who actually offered sacrifice and handled blood at their altars. Other Levite associated assigned by preparing animals, guarding the sanctuary, single and doing practical services, but did not perform the core priestly blood rituals themselves. That was for Aaron's line, right? Animals used in sacrifice. For the Levites, for the Levitical sacrifice system in general, not only Levi, but for all Israel, administrated by Levi, herd animals, bulls, ox, and cows, and were used especially for burnt offerings and sin offerings, particularly for the priest and the congregation. Flock animals, rams, male lambs, and male goats were common for burnt, peace, and sin offerings. Birds, turtle doves, and young pigeons were allowed as burnt or sin offerings for poorer Israelites, showing economic scales of sacrifice. Passover lambs, special cases. Passover lambs are young goats without blemish, were slain with blood applied to the altar in later generations. Day of Atonement, Yom Kippur, 2 male goats, one as sin offering, one as, listen, family, these practices are similar. And it's a reason that this is something that's inherently within these people. These are tribal characteristics. That's what this is. And again, we can go tribe by tribe as we start to try to identify these tribal characteristics, right? As we deal with the Seminole Indians, right? Dealing with the Seminole Indians being Reuben. These people were known for being great scouts, right? So as we look at the multitude of different tribal characteristics, this is how we are able to identify these tribes, which Zion Lexx says is impossible. But, I pray that, you all are able to go check out his video and be on the lookout for a sit down, possibly, and so we can kind of engage and question each other concerning these points, which the brother is saying is impossible. I hope that I was able to open up your minds to the possibilities of being able to utilize anthropology to identify these tribes, right? So I have a wealth of more of information, but I don't want to hold you all night. I pray that the Most High have opened up your mind and your spirit. And if you have any questions, contact me, man. I'm willing to have a sit down concerning these things as we continue to try to shed light on the possibility of us being able to identify these tribes, right? So I want to leave you with this. Zion Lexx, I don't understand you calling yourself Ben Levy, man. If we don't know who we are, you should just be Ben Israel, right? So I don't understand that, bro. So, again, like I said, I'm trying to be as diplomatic as I can, brother, and respectful as I can in areas where you were not respectful, bro. You're very disrespectful to the elders. I didn't really even get into the second half of the video like I planned on doing, but we are already at 2 hours and 20 minutes. So I don't want to hold you all night. I appreciate you all. And the 12 tribe chart is still alive. Shalom.
All different type of information every week. Let me speak. If you subscribe, we're going deep. Love Talk Sister E.